Hey everyone, welcome back. Alright, we've got massive leaks from the set of HBO's Harry Potter reboot. I'm talking Dumbledore on a beach, brand new characters like the Flamels finally showing up, a full wizarding village being built from scratch, and even new cast reveals that are already splitting fans online. Hit like, smash subscribe, and let's dive into this chaos. Alright, let's talk about the biggest bombshell of all, the Cornwall beach leaks. These are the first proper set photos showing John Lithgow fully suited up as Albus Dumbledore. And honestly, they've got the fandom spinning. At first, the leaks seemed random. A bearded Dumbledore, alone by the sea, clutching his wrist like he's in pain. The Daily Mail described him walking in the surf, then holding his wrist and grimacing, with crew members holding giant cue cards printed with Latin incantations. One of those phrases, muras cadat, via patiat, translates to, let the wall fall, let the way be clear. That single line broke the internet. Because, yeah, that's not from any book. Dumbledore never says that, so fans immediately started trying to place it. Is this a flashback, a new spell? Something linked to the cave from Half-Blood Prince? But the truth turned out to be even more fascinating. New photos confirmed Lithgow filming with two other actors, Lambert Wilson and Martha Keller, who were officially identified by Paris Match as Nicolas and Perenelle Flamel. Let's pause here. This is a big deal. Flamel has never appeared in the main Harry Potter films. He's a crucial character in the Philosopher's Stone, the literal creator of the stone. But he only exists as a name and a couple of mentions. Now HBO's version is finally showing him in person. And this changes everything about how the Philosopher's Stone story plays out. Think about it. In the book, Dumbledore just tells Harry near the end that he's been working with Flamel and that the stone has been destroyed. We never see how that conversation goes, what Dumbledore says to convince Flamel, or even what their friendship looked like. Now, we're actually getting it. One report says, there's a strong chance this is the scene where Dumbledore convinced Flamel to give up the Philosopher's Stone and place it in Gringotts for safekeeping. That moment would directly set up the entire first-year plot. The theft attempt, the vault, the Mirror of Erised. All of it. And get this. Another outlet adds, we can't discount the possibility this is from later in the story, with Dumbledore talking his old friend into relinquishing his immortality due to the risk it poses to the wider wizarding world. If they're going that emotional route, showing Flamel accepting his own mortality, that's a whole new layer of tragedy we never got before. But the really interesting angle? This scene might be rewriting what Dumbledore was actually doing when he left Hogwarts for the Ministry. Remember that mysterious gap in the first book? McGonagall even says Dumbledore's been called away urgently. Fans now think that's what this beach sequence is. A secret meeting with Flamel, while Voldemort and Quirrell set their plan into motion. It also might be HBO's first real attempt to weave the early books into the larger lore, connecting to the cave and Horcruxes from Half-Blood Prince decades later. Showrunner Francesca Gardner even teased this kind of expansion, saying, we have 8 hours to tell the first book so we can dig into the real depths and crevices and how the language of magic can evolve. She also called the series a bigger sandpit to play in, hinting that they'll use the extra runtime to explore everything the movies skipped or simplified. And here's something that got overlooked. Fans spotted crew holding something that looked like a glowing stone prop on set, possibly the Philosopher's Stone itself. So this isn't just Dumbledore and Flamel talking. It's the transfer. The moment the stone changes hands. The origin of the entire saga. I'll be honest, this is the first time since HBO announced the reboot that I've gone, okay, maybe this show is going to justify its existence. They're giving weight to things that always happened off-screen. They're showing Dumbledore not as a perfect wise mentor, but as a man making secret deals and moral compromises, which makes him way more interesting. And visually, Cornwall is perfect. The rocky coastlines, mist, the sea spray. It all feels like something ancient and secret. If this is how the show looks at its most grounded, we're in for something special. So yeah, between the Latin incantations, the Flamel meeting, and the emotional goodbye scene that fans think might end the season, this leak has revealed more about the tone and direction of the show than any official press release. This isn't a remake of the movies. It's a reimagining of the mythology. If you're loving these leaks so far, drop a like on the video and subscribe. It really helps out. Okay, now let's move from beaches to barns, because the second major leak gives us a look at where this show is being built. Literally. Brand new photos from Hertfordshire show what the tabloids are calling a magical Harry Potter village under construction, and it's honestly massive. We're talking a full village set, cottages, a stone outbuilding, a greenhouse, a Quidditch stand, and even a winding cobblestone road cutting through it all. The farm area has been transformed into the wizarding world. This isn't just a backdrop. This is production design world building on the level of Game of Thrones or The Last of Us. You can literally see cranes, scaffolding, and dozens of builders shaping what looks like a permanent filming location. Now here's the interesting part. Fans have been debating what exactly this set represents. The best guesses? The Burrow, the Weasley family home, being built early to appear in later seasons. A greenhouse modeled after the one used in herbology scenes. Or even part of Hagrid's hut and the Forbidden Forest edge. If you zoom into the photos, and people online definitely have, the greenhouse looks almost identical to the one from the original 2001 film. Glass arches, wooden framing, vines already starting to grow inside. That's not a coincidence. They're recreating iconic designs but grounding them in new architecture, which makes sense if they're trying to balance nostalgia with realism. One source said that filming is expected to move from Cornwall to Hertfordshire after the current schedule wraps, meaning these sets are next in line for active shooting. The same leak adds that Dominic McLaughlin, who's playing Harry, was spotted in costume nearby, which might confirm that these sets will be used for his first major Hogwarts-adjacent scenes, possibly Diagon Alley or the transition to the Wizarding World. There's also a replica of Hogsmeade Station built in Windsor Park, with half a mile of real track where the Hogwarts Express has been seen steaming through. And that's not rumor. Multiple local witnesses have posted videos of the red steam engine in motion again. So they're not relying on digital backgrounds. This thing's practical. But here's where things get even more secretive. The production's using code names to keep leaks under control. Dark Train at first, and now Brown Cat. Phones are banned, and internal messages reportedly vanish after being read once. Yes, HBO literally went full Mission Impossible on this. Even with that, photos still leaked, showing rain machines, full lighting rigs, and extras dressed like muggles in a seaside town. In one scene, Harry, Petunia, Vernon, and Dudley are seen inside a car as simulated rain pours down. Vernon's outside arguing with a fisherman and holding what looks like a broom wrapped in paper. That's not from the book, so fans think it's a new opening sequence showing the Dursleys' life before Hogwarts letters start flooding in. If true, that's another clever use of TV pacing, expanding the world before Harry enters it. We might even see how wizards are already moving in the background of normal England before the big reveal. Of course, the leaks also mentioned something a little less magical: bugs. According to crew reports, the set was hit by a nasty swarm of ticks and horseflies. Everyone was warned to cover up and report bites to the on-site medic. So yeah, welcome to the glamour of TV production. Dumbledore's got a fake beard, the crew's got bug spray. But jokes aside, this leak is the most promising sign of how serious HBO is about world building. They're not cutting corners with green screens. They're constructing entire physical environments, down to sports stands and gardens, to make the world feel lived in again. And it's paying off. Fans who visited the area said it felt like stepping onto the Wizarding World Park, but darker, grittier. More like Succession meets Hogwarts. And considering the same creative team behind Succession and The Last of Us is steering this show, that vibe tracks. When you combine that scale of set design with the Cornwall story scenes and the new character material we're getting, it's clear this reboot isn't a remake. It's HBO building a whole magical universe from the ground up, literally. Perfect. All right, let's talk casting. Because this next leak just cracked open a part of the Harry Potter world we've barely ever seen on screen. The Centaurs of the Forbidden Forest. So according to the latest from Redanian intelligence, Jake Curran has been cast as Ronan the Centaur in the first season of HBO's Harry Potter. That might sound like a small role, but it's actually a big signal of what the show is doing differently. In the original Philosopher's Stone movie, we got a quick glimpse of the centaurs during the unicorn sequence. A spooky night scene, Firenze saving Harry, done mostly in CGI, and then never revisited again. But now that HBO has 8 full hours for the first book, they're expanding it. We're talking a deeper dive into the Forbidden Forest, the politics of the centaur herd, the tension between the magical creatures and wizards, and even the mythology they believe in. The report confirms, given that Ronan appears in multiple installments, we can likely expect him to appear in future seasons as well. So Ronan might not just be a background creature anymore. He could become a recurring character with full dialogue, personality, and even his own conflicts. Jake Curran's casting makes sense. He's been in gritty, dark projects like Gangs of London, Robin Hood with Sean Bean, and the upcoming DC film Clayface, where he plays a creepy character named Patches. He's got that grounded energy HBO loves, slightly menacing but real. Exactly the kind of actor who could make a centaur believable and not cartoonish. And apparently, HBO's not going for the full CGI creature look this time. Multiple reports mention practical hybrid rigs, which means real actors in partial motion capture suits blended with animatronics. So when Hagrid meets Ronan in the forest, it'll feel physical. The way Game of Thrones handled giants or dragons. But Curran isn't the only casting that has people talking. There's also Lee Quinn, who's been confirmed to have joined the series in an unknown role. That's literally all the official info says. But online sleuths think they've cracked it. Her look, her previous work, Write Off, Love at First Sight, and her timing all point toward her possibly playing Professor Trelawney, or at least an early version of her. And here's why that would make sense. In HBO's version, they're clearly not afraid to plant seeds early. Flamel's being introduced decades before he appears in the books. So, having a brief moment where Dumbledore consults a young seer, or we get a glimpse of Trelawney's prophecy origins, would fit perfectly. It would also tie into the broader theme of destiny and fate that runs through the first book, something the movies only started hinting at much later. There's also speculation that Quinn could be playing an original character, maybe one of the teachers cut from the movies, or even an assistant in the divination department. Either way, it's another sign that HBO's expanding Hogwarts life beyond the main trio, giving the world depth and staff we've never met before. Harry Potter series will film until May 2026 and is eyeing a 2027 release. Season 2 will begin filming back-to-back after Season 1 after a short break. So yes, HBO is planning this like a multi-year epic, not a one-off reboot. With Curran's Ronan, Quinn's mysterious role, and all these new supporting characters, it's clear the show's creating a full ensemble rather than focusing only on Harry. And honestly, that's probably the smartest move they could make. If this reboot is going to stand on its own, it has to offer something new, not just younger versions of the same faces. And between centaurs, seers, and secret professors, they're definitely doing that. All right, we've got to talk about Keira Knightley, because her name being tied to the Harry Potter universe again caught literally everyone off guard, and then immediately sparked controversy. Here's what happened. Knightley was recently announced as joining the voice cast of Audible's Harry Potter, the full cast audio editions, playing none other than Professor Umbridge. But when asked about the ongoing fan boycott of J.K. Rowling and the backlash surrounding her views, Knightley said in an interview with Decider, "I was not aware of that, no. I'm very sorry. I think we're all living in a period of time right now where we're all going to have to figure out how to live together, aren't we? And we've all got very different opinions. I hope that we can all find respect. Basically, she didn't know about the boycott, and she's calling for respect between differing views. Pretty neutral statement, right? Well, online, it blew up. Because while Knightley's joining an audiobook project, not the HBO series itself, it dropped at the exact same time that Deadline reported Rowling worked closely with the show's writer's room and was part of the pitch process. So fans immediately connected the two, like Knightley was endorsing Rowling's return to power within the franchise. HBO's official line hasn't wavered. Casey Bloys, CEO of HBO, told press, "Our priority is what's on the screen. Obviously, the Harry Potter story is incredibly affirmative and positive, and about love and self-acceptance. That's our priority. What's on screen." So, in other words, they're not touching the controversy. They're just saying, look, we're making a good show. What's fascinating, though, is that this conversation is now inside the cast itself. Because one of the new stars, Papa Essiedu, who's playing Snape, was one of the 400 signatories on a letter urging the UK film and TV industry to take stronger action on trans rights. So, you've literally got people in the same production who have very different perspectives on the issue. And Knightley's comment, "I hope we can all find respect," lands right in the middle of that storm. It's a weird, tense balance. Rowling is officially an executive producer through her Bronte film and TV banner. She's heavily involved in creative oversight. Meanwhile, HBO wants to keep the show's tone positive and inclusive, focusing on love, friendship, and acceptance. It's possible that Knightley's comment actually mirrors what a lot of the cast feels. That you can love the story, respect the work, and still hold your own beliefs. It's messy, but it's the new reality of this franchise. And it's worth noting, Knightley's casting as Umbridge is kind of genius. If she ever did appear in the HBO show down the line, it'd be a perfect meta move. One of the most charming British actors playing one of the most hated characters ever written. That kind of irony is right up HBO's alley. For now, though, her involvement just added another layer of complexity to a project that's already walking a fine line between nostalgia, politics, and modern fandom. Now for something lighter, and honestly, one of the coolest casting choices yet. Locks Pratt as the new Draco Malfoy. If that name doesn't ring a bell yet, it will soon. Because right before the Harry Potter announcement, Pratt starred in the BBC's Lord of the Flies remake. And get this, he plays Jack, the island's violent, manipulative leader who descends into madness. Pratt has that perfect blend of posh arrogance and youthful chaos. The kind of energy that made Tom Felton so iconic in the films, but darker, more unfiltered. In Lord of the Flies, he's constantly on the edge, red-faced, shouting, commanding other boys like a dictator in miniature. It's brutal, it's raw, and it shows he can play cruelty without turning it cartoonish. That's exactly what HBO needs for this reboot's tone. They're not doing the sanitized school rival version of Draco. They're showing a real kid raised in a world of prejudice, wealth, and fear. Someone who's not just mean for fun, but because he's terrified of being weak. The article describes Pratt's breakout role as feral, sweaty, and agonizing to watch, as it should be. That's Draco energy. And then there's the family dynamic. He'll be acting opposite Johnny Flynn as Lucius Malfoy. And that's going to be fascinating. Flynn has this cold, controlled charm, so watching him play off Pratt's impulsive rage could make for some of the best father-son tension in the show. The report even hints at how the producers see Pratt's future. While Lord of the Flies will give Pratt his first major showcase, he's about to become a household name. No kidding, this kid's about to go from indie breakout to global star. And the timing couldn't be better. Lord of the Flies hits BBC and Stan later this year, which means audiences will see exactly what he can do before HBO's Harry Potter arrives in 2027. Between him, Dominic McLaughlin as Harry, Arabella Stanton as Hermione, and Alistair Stout as Ron, it's a whole new generation of actors about to carry the franchise for the next decade. And let's be honest, the Malfoys might just steal the show this time. If HBO's leaning into realism, Lucius and Draco could go from sneering villains to complex anti-heroes, full of trauma, fear, and legacy. Pratt's already got the intensity to pull that off. So yeah, the reboot might still be 2 years away. But between the beach scenes, the Wizarding Village, and this cast lineup, it's already clear. This isn't nostalgia. It's reinvention. So that's where we're at right now. Flamel and Dumbledore meeting for the first time. A Wizarding Village rising out of Hertfordshire. Centaurs galloping into frame, and a brand new Draco ready to set Hogwarts on fire. If HBO pulls this off, the Philosopher's Stone won't just be a remake. It'll be a full reimagining of what the wizarding world feels like. More grounded, more emotional, and, honestly, a little dangerous. If you made it this far, you're clearly as obsessed as I am, so tell me in the comments. Which of these leaks are you most hyped for? Dumbledore's secret mission, the new sets, or Locke Pratt's Draco? Smash that like button, subscribe for more Harry Potter news, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next update. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.